evens out, I would think. It's going to be the first time that Lost Wish has stepped foot on our track out here at Lone Star Park. Does have one turf race under her belt that came back at Indiana Grand last year. Only 2 starts for this one, both on that synthetic track up there in Kentucky. We'll see what happens with Lost Wish, but I'm going to go ahead and give a check mark to this one in the first. Second choice, I went with number 8. That is Sip. The last 2 races weren't the best for this one, finishing 7 in both of those. But the last time that this horse was in for a claiming price was in for $25,000. Was claimed out of that race, ran a solid third in that one. That came 5 furlongs on the turf, just like we're running tonight. I think if this horse can put something together like that last time this horse was in for a tag, I think Sip could get up there and finish in the top 3. And then I took the number 4, Bendeline, as my third selection here. This horse has you got to look well back. To look, this horse hasn't finished in the trifecta, and you're not going to find it because this horse has finished 8 of 8 in the trifecta. Last time out, tried 5 furlongs on the turf right out here in a $25,000 claiming race, finished third in that one. I'll go ahead and take the third for this horse again tonight.
Yeah, what is there not to like about Bendeline? But I did pick her third, as you did. Always gets a part of it. The issue with her is simply, she's won 1 race, but it was on the main track at Will Rogers Downs. Her turf record is admirable, 3 seconds, 3/3 in 6 turf tries. Always gets a piece of it. Love to own a piece of her, but she doesn't win. Now, today might be her day, but I picked against her as well. Lost Wish is interesting. She's run well when fresh, which is good. Her career debut was a win. And, she ran decently when getting claimed at Turfway off a layoff last winter. The thing that's weird about her, and I don't know if this is a positive or negative, Asmussen had her at his division in Indiana, indicated by running her also at Turfway, that part of the country, training her at Indiana, and yet he ships her here. I don't know whether that's a positive, that maybe he thought, she had a really good shot to win here. I don't know if they've had issues with weather where she isn't on the turf there. I don't know if he didn't think she could win there, in which case he shipped her here, which would be a drawback. We don't know. We'll probably never know, but I like her anyway, so I'm keeping her on top. Essential Bella is interesting to me. Ontario bred with a trainer in Burl McBride that wins races, but he doesn't apparently have a very large stable at this stage. He's only started 23 horses this year. This filly was at Oaklawn against much better and really went kind of south. But, let's face it, she's facing much tougher than she's facing today. Never been on the turf. But, last time out faced Nisi Prius and Stanley Market, who were, really, really nice. And gets a class drop. Had a good work on May 7th at Hot Springs. I'm going to take her second on a flyer. I think she might be able to lay close to the pace. And then Bendeline and Sip, obviously have opportunities as well. On to the second. Scratch the 1, American Code, who actually I liked her a little bit coming off the bench. We don't get a lot of Arapaho form here, but she's out, making her, would have made her first start of the year. That leaves a field of 5, so no show, no super, or no show at least on the, no super on the second race. My apologies.
Yeah, so you were talking about don't see many Arapaho horses here. This whole race kind of drew up like that. So we had the 6 Holland, who's my third choice. Sunray Park was the last time out. We see some Turf Paradise under the 2. Los Alamitos under the 3. The 5's coming from California as well. So, these are all over the place. But I'm taking the horse that is one of them that has stuck around in this region. That is the number 4, Silver Wings. All right, I like Silver Wings. The last time out wasn't the best race for this horse. Finished 5 out of 6 in that one. Was beaten by 9 3/4. But if I draw a line through that allowance race, take a look at the ones before that. 3 starts back. this horse broke its maiden at Sam Houston Race Park at a 5.5 furlong race like we're going tonight. Followed that back up in an allowance, one other than allowance. Won that race by 3 of the dead heat. Beat a next out winner in Dino's Cape, who finished third in that race. I think there's a lot to like about Silver Wings if you can get past that finish in that last race.
Yeah.
Second choice, I'll take the number 2, Picking It Up, Playing It Down. This is one of those horses that came from Turf Paradise. I'm not a big fan of those horses that come in here from Arizona. My apologies to Craig Braddock over there, the announcer. I like him. But you know what? Kind of changed my tune a little bit on some of these horses this year. We've seen some of them come in from out west and have some decent races, kind of like the 2 here. I mean, if you take a look 2 starts back, this horse was a winner at Turf Paradise. Came back out here and ran a non-winners of 3 allowance race. Finished a solid second in that one.
Yeah.
Closed very well in that race. I think this horse has a shot here. I'll take the 2. And then the 6, Holland, is going to be my third selection. I mean, this horse was a winner 2 starts back at Sunray Park. Followed that back up with a nice third, just beaten by half a length. To a next out winner that finished second in that one. Now, granted, those were those 4.5 furlong races. So, going to have to add another furlong on tonight where this horse hasn't performed the best. At the last time this horse ran 5.5, I mean, was well beaten by 14.5. So,
and went on the shelf for about a year.
Yeah, after that.
So I mean, obviously something went wrong.
That's kind of like what happens with me if I were to go out there and run 5.5.
Exactly.
I'd be on the shelf for a year. So, but Holland, that's going to be my third choice, number 6.
Yeah, Holland, that race that he ran against at Sunray on May 8th, featured a Greg Green trainee who's in on Sunday, and I just looked at Sunday's races, so I'm familiar with this horse, and I'm actually picking the horse on Sunday for Greg Green on the turf. This race, that Bonfire Party Burns DeBoss race at Sunray. I don't know much about those horses, but I know Burns DeBoss has gotten very good in New Mexico this spring and has won, I think, 2 of his last 3 with a second in there. So that's a pretty good race. I took him third as well. I went with picking it up, laying it down. I really wish I had been a little more creative in this race. I mean, it's only a 5-horse field, but I just couldn't go against this horse. I thought he was, he ran a really nice race last time. He got a really good trip. He angled out in the upper stretch. He ran a huge buyer. Trainer Donna Jort brought his horse from Turf Paradise where she's campaigned, obviously well in limited starts. And he ran a nice race last time against Spite and Malice. He beat Charlie Candu, who went to Louisiana Downs and won his next start, I think, for Broberg. So I'm going to take this horse. Trained real well on June 1st. Nietzsche Ren's the interesting one to me. I almost picked this Nietzsche Ren on top for Sean Davis. This horse comes out of mixed quarter horse thoroughbred races at 1,000 yards at Los Al, which, it's about a half mile, or actually if a half mile is 880, so it's actually more like 4.5 furlongs. So he's having to go basically an extra furlong, which doesn't seem to be his strength. But he's lightning fast, Nietzsche Ren. So I got him second. I wish the race was 5/8. I probably would have taken him on top.
Or 870.
or even 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Or a half a mile. Once in a great while, we run a half mile main track race for older speedballs. So we'll see. Third race. I tried to find a price in here. Non-winners of 3 claimers, 5.5 furlongs is the distance. No scratches out of this one.
Yeah, so I went with the number 5, Mr. Hands-On, here in this spot. I mean, the horse has had a couple races over the Lone Star Park track. Those were the 2 most recent races. Was well beaten in both of them. But you know what? This horse goes to Carl Broberg for the first time. He hits at a high percentage on his first-time horses in his barn. I mean, and then if you look back at how the horse did at Sam Houston this year, had a couple decent races, decent sprints there, finishing second in both of them. I'll take Mr. Hands-On as my top choice over the number 2, Autocratic, who's going to be my second selection. Kind of like the last one, I got to overlook a couple races, but before that, I mean, when you look at how this horse did at Sam Houston in 3 starts this year, a second by a neck, and then 2 pretty nice wins. I mean, one of them coming by 5 3/4 lengths.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the horse can repeat what he did back down in Sam Houston earlier this year, I think Autocratic gets up there and takes a piece of the purse here. Number 6, Rousing Slammer. That's going to be my third selection. A couple consecutive third-place finishes coming at the 6 furlong distance. So I'm going to cut a little bit off. The Sean Davis's trainer, he's got a pretty good record so far. I mean, if you look, 18 starts is what I have in my program right here. 5 wins out of those 18 starts. That's a pretty decent percentage, a couple seconds and a couple thirds, too. I think that this could be one that gets up and hits the board here in the third.
Yeah, I agree. The problem with Rousing Slammer is just he has never shown much stick in his race, as they say. Much ability to stay the distance, but I like him, too. I mean, he's got dangerous speed. I picked him third. I took Running Jesse on top here. Hasn't been out since May 18th, but had a really fast 3/8 work on May 29th. Had a pretty useful, I think, 5 furlong breeze on May 19th. Training really well for Dallas Keene, and I like the claim back angle. Keene had this horse briefly, at least, last fall. Broberg claimed him away. Keene took him back in February. Had a weak race against Texas Breds, but now he has given him some time off, comes back into a field that I think is pretty wide open. So I'm going to give him a shot over Mr. Hands-On, who the thing that concerns me about Mr. Hands-On, obviously he was overmatched his last two, but he just keeps dropping, and I'm not really sure why. His form was pretty good at Houston this, against non-4s and non-3s and whatnot. I'm kind of curious why Carl would drop him to 10,000 today, but, definitely a big, big factor here. On to the fourth. No show or super wagering on the fourth. This is why I was getting confused earlier about the show and the super and all that. The earlier race where we had the scratches is just no super. This is no show or super. 6 furlongs, scratch the 3 My Baby Blue, and the 6 Stone Fox.
So I'll take the number 4 on top. She's an angel. This 4-year-old by Too Much Bling is I think is the winner here in this one. Last time out, this horse was able to show some speed. Won that race. That was at the $10,000 level. In for the $7,500 tag tonight. I think this horse is starting to figure things out at Lone Star Park. A pretty decent record out of 4 tries. Has that win I talked about, that win came at Sam Houston last time. But if you look back, does have a win out here at Lone Star Park that came last May. Also, a couple thirds to show for it. So 3 out of 4, this horse has finished in the money here at this track. Horse had a good 2021. 2022 has been all right with a win and a second-place finish. Also has a win at this distance. I think there's a lot to like about She's the Angel, especially, Steve Asmussen, Stuart Elliott. These guys team up for some wins more often than not, it seems like. Second choice is going to be the number 7 horse. That is A Song for Mickey. This is a horse that was a winner last time out. Showed some nice closing speed to get up for the win in that one. I've been following this horse for quite a while because the owner of this one, Kitty Balcom, she is married to the guy at AutoNation Ford, South Fort Worth, who we do our car giveaway with, and he told me he had this horse. I've been watching this one. This horse always seemed to get out of the gate. I'd always text him and tell him, man, this horse broke very, very well. Last time didn't break that well, but was able to close pretty well. So
he ran really well. Because I picked the horse that ran second to A Song for Mickey, Sure's Texas Bling, the next time out. Now, Sure's Texas Bling disappointed me, but A Song for Mickey ran super that day.
Yeah, and this filly, she's had some races in the past where, she was well beaten. Gillespie didn't have a very good year down in Gillespie when she went down to Fredericksburg. Followed that back up at Sam Houston this year. Was getting beat by double-digit lengths, but that win last time out showed me for something that seemed to be a pretty good level that she was running out that $7,500 tag. With a better start, I think Song for Mickey gets up there and runs fairly well tonight. And then the number 5, Doc's Denintia, is going to be my third selection here. This horse has been running at a bigger level. 20,000 last time, 30,000 the time before that. Drops in here for $7,500 tonight. We'll see what this horse can get done here in race number 4.
Yeah, I took her. This is one of these races, you handicap a few days in advance, and then you look back at your selections, and, She's an Angel. If I'm just trying to find, the most likely winner in this field, it'd be the 4. She's quick. She's gotten quick with blinkers. Most of her races are pretty good. But I'm going to try to beat her with Doc's Danita, who is, it's been a long time since she's won a race, and she's 2 for 35 in her career. Her last 2 turf races here were against much better, and they were really good efforts, considering she was a tad overmatched. She can run on the main track, but it looks like her best efforts, certainly her best Beyer figs, are always on the turf. This may be a race where, She's an Angel strolls, and I think, what the heck was I thinking? But I'm going to try to beat her. I'm going to try to beat She's an Angel. This is the kind of race where sometimes you can take a chance. These non-2s, non-3s like this at the bottom level. So I'm going to go 5-4-7. One thing about this race, it starts to pick 5. The carryover is 9,194. I didn't mention that the third race, which does start the 6-shooter tonight, the third race, the 6-shooter carryover is 2,445. So we got good carryovers there. On to the 5th. 5/8 of a mile. On the turf. An allowance event, scratch the 4, Carbon Striker, and the 9, Mover.
All right, so let's go with the horse that's on the far outside. That's Rebel Posse. All right, so 2 starts back. This horse ran in the quick call. That was a grade 3 at Saratoga. That was a sprint on the turf. The horse ran fairly well in that one. Ran 4th out of a 6-horse field. Took some time off since then. Came back here, ran in a conditioned allowance race. A good 3rd in that one. I think after having that 1 start back after a layoff, the time tonight is for Rebels Posse to pick up another victory. I'll take the horse on top. Second choice is going to be number 2, Sign of War. I see that you had this horse picked on top.
Yeah.
I think that Rick had it in the front of the book.
Rick's got it as his
bold.
Lee's lock.
Yeah, he had Lee's lock of the day, right? So I'm going to go against Lee's lock. But I will take Sign of War for second. I mean, this horse has a ton of speed, as you can see in those last 3 races. Doesn't like to get out there and let anyone really to get in front of him. Ran the Chamberlain Bridge Stakes last time out. That was on Memorial Day out here on our Lone Star Million card. Was up in the front of that race. Ended up finishing 4th. But, I mean, that was a solid field that this horse had to compete against.
He was only beaten a length and a half for all of it.
Not bad,
Excess
right?
Magic right now is really tough.
And I just think Sign of War, I mean, this could be a very likely winner here, but you know what? I'll go with Rebel Posse instead. And then number 3, Belu's Gold is going to be my third choice. This is one of those horses. I picked this horse last time he ran on top. He won that race. I felt really good about that pick. Mindy Willis, Stuart Elliott. I like it when Stuart rides these horses for Mindy Willis. They always have a chance. This horse has some experience on the turf. I mean, if you look, this horse has started on the turf 8 different times and has 4 wins out of those 8 turf starts. I think there's a lot to be said for Belu's Gold. That will be my third choice here in the 5th.
I think that's a really interesting race. You know, I'm with Sign of War. He was hard to load last time, and yet he came out on top and led to deep stretch before those other 3 got by him. But those other 3 are really nice. That was a good race in the Chamberlain Bridge. Race before that, he just blew people away here, and including Belu's Gold, a really strong race. Cesar Gouveia really has this horse going well. I'm going to give him the nod over Give It Everything. An Arkansas bred trying the turf here. Usually you don't gravitate toward Arkansas breds on the turf, but this horse has been keeping pretty good company. He got really good last fall at Remington. He's had a freshening since January. He's training well for Danny Pish, who's good off layoffs. I'm going to give him a long shot for second over Rebel Posse, who obviously has a lot of credentials. We got some video to watch in the 6th race here. First of all, Scratch the 3-Town Champ. 3/4 of a mile. There's a ton of speed in here, but we're going to watch a horse that's actually my second pick, Samurai Cause. Now, he's going to be number 5 in this video. This is the head-on shot. Watch number 5. Lane Leslie was aboard this day. He's got white silks, white blinkers, and a black cap. Now, they're going to proceed up the backstretch. He's going to end up near the back of the field. Watch the white blinkers in behind the horse with the lime green. Right in through here, he's going to start hurdling something he sees on the track. Right there. Bang. There's one hurdle, and there was another one. And he's going to keep on running, but you see Leslie takes him to the outside. Now he's dead last, and he's going to stay there. And, you know, at this point he's out of it. So Lane Leslie just took him to the outside, and he just kind of walked across the finish line. The reason I show that is that was a 5-ace turf sprint. He had obvious issues with the surface. I don't know what. Maybe there were some lines on the track. Maybe, who knows? I'd be curious to see if he comes out with a shadow roll today, even though it's back on the main track. His races on the dirt prior to that turf which were excellent. He switches to Stuart Elliott today. I just think it's worth a look. That he could be a big price, and I think he could run well. And don't worry too much about finishing 60 lengths back. I mean, he wasn't persevered with. He's my second pick, Ernie Banker. I picked him last time, and I think I picked him last time, and he didn't run a step, but it was a much better race, much better race. He's had a good year at Oaklawn, so he's my top pick.
Yeah, that's why I have Ernie Banker on top. He had a good year at Oaklawn. Followed that up with a nice race at Sam Houston back at the beginning of April. Came out here and tried our track for the first time. Finished 7 of 9 in that, but he was overmatched in that race. Yeah, a tough race. I mean, the first 2 finishers of that one went on to win their next race. But I still think that Ernie Banker is the one to take a look at here. I love those Oaklawn races that he performed well in.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, the horses he was running against, they almost all came back and won their next starts. I mean, he was really good at Hot Springs and Houston.
Yeah, I mean, and I see the case that you made for 9 Samurai Cause too. I mean, I just looked. I didn't watch the replay, but I saw it getting beat by 60. Something happened.
Yeah.
Something bad happened to that race. Of course, he was erratic and jumping something in the horse, so yeah. I mean, after watching that replay, I mean, I can see how you can go back and look at that previous form and see that this horse might have a chance to run well tonight. But I've got the number 1, Mr. K, as my second selection. I mean, this horse is up there toward the front in most of the races. I mean, This horse is a solid veteran at 5 years old, 24 starts, has 4 wins, 6 seconds. So 10 out of 24, this horse has finished first or second. Has a win at this distance as well. Last time out, like I said, showed some speed, finished fourth in that race, had a second before that, a couple wins before that, 7 furlongs at Sam Houston. I think Mr. K, there's a lot to like about that horse. And I got the 4 Fresh One as my third choice. A winner last time out over our track at this distance. Putting all those things together, you got to like that. That was that same race that Mr. K was in, but I think that Mr. K comes in on top. I've got it 2, 1, and 4.
There's a ton of speed in this race, and I think Fresh One might really get a nice trip. He may get a better trip than Ernie Banker because I think Fresh One can lay closer. I don't think he's going to get the lead in this spot because there's this 5-horse Can He Storm who started his career in Mexico that's lightning fast, and Mr. K is pretty fast. But Fresh One might get the catbird seat, but Ernie Banker is going to be probably a little bit farther back. But I think there's enough pace in this race that horses like Ernie and Fresh One and Samurai Cause might get really good fast paces to run into. Can He Storm is interesting to me because he won 6 of 12 in Mexico. He's a Kentucky bred. And when he came out here on that turf race on May 7th against Excess Magic and Archie Dust, who are going to beat everybody right now, turf sprinting in this region, he showed blinding speed on the turf in his first try on the sod before checking out of it. He could be pretty interesting. He's going to be hard to beat to the lead in that race. We got 2-year-olds in race number 7. 5A semi-mile. These are open, not Texas bred, open fillies. And this is an interesting race because I made a mental note when Posse finished her race last time that she's going to be tough next time out. But, every year we get these Asmussen shippers from Kentucky. Every year I fall for them. And at least up until now, because I see you and Rick have both picked Realitos, so she's probably guaranteed a spot in the winner's circle. I always pick these Asmussen Kentucky shippers, and they never do much for me. So I'm trying to beat her. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, like you said, I got the 6 Realitos as my top choice. This is probably hits the ride with that other Asmussen horse coming from Indiana, right?
They might.
That's probably why they're both down here, right? He said, I like this 2-year-old to run in Texas. You can see the workout tab. This horse was at Keeneland. That last race at Churchill Downs was the only race for this horse. It was a sprint race. That was on the turf. Fairly solid in that one. It says the trip note says slow, bothered at the start.
I looked at that. I didn't see much.
So,
I saw a veer in at the start. I didn't see much bothering, but that's all in the eye of the beholder. I wouldn't
analyze that, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't overemphasize the trouble at the start. But
yeah. So I always talk about I love horses making their second start, right? Off a layoff or just second start in general. This is one of them right here. Also makes that surface switch from the turf last time over here to the dirt course. I think there's a lot to like about Realitos. I'm going to take this horse on top over Posse, who I remembered that last race this horse ran as well. And I was like, man, that horse looks like he's going to fire next time out, or she's going to fire next time out. Closed very well in that last race. Finished second just by half a length. We'll see what Posse does tonight. I got it second. And then third is going to be number 9, Accelerating Babe. Danny Piss always talk about how I love the horses that he sends out at 2-year-olds. Keen Thoroughbred's the owner of this one. They've always sent out some solid horses as well. I'll go ahead and take this horse for third place in the debut for this filly.
I went with Posse simply because she has had a race over the track. There were things about her that are a little bit of a caution. Like, she was kind of hard-ridden early on. Like, she wasn't just reserved and then made a late run. Eckleberry was kind of riding her, and she just couldn't keep up early in what was, I thought, a pretty hotly contested pace situation. Then she started passing all the tired ones and legitimately kept on trying all the way to the finish. Who knows if that's going to happen again. I'm hoping she's just not a filly that's just going to kind of be sort of forwardly placed and not close well. So I'm going to take her anyway. Over Forever Family. Pish on the Rail is intriguing to me. I don't normally like rail horses in 2-year-old races, but I think this filly could be really, really quick based on the works. I think she might be able to get out there, and I don't know how much early speed there's going to be. One of these firsters is probably going to bust out of there and take the lead. So I'm going to go with her second over Realitos. I went and watched that race. I mean, Irish Breds ran 1-2 in that race, who figured to like the turf, Grand Oak and Cowichan. You know, they were well clear of everybody else. She just, I don't know. I got to see more out of her. I mean, her dam, Moonlit Bayou, was unraised, produced an 0 for 15 Louisiana bred, who I think was the only other horse to get to the races. And yet, this spring, they paid $115K for Realitos. So she's obviously got to look good. She's got to look the part galloping. You don't spend that kind of dough, even in horse circles, for somebody that doesn't look good in motion. On to the 8th. A mile on turf to wrap it up. Scratch the 4 quarterback deck and the 5 pinch of salt.
All right, so here in the nightcap, I've got number 8, Seductive USA, as my top choice here. Jim gives me a thumbs up. This horse, back-to-back wins, both of them on the turf, both of them coming right out here at Lone Star Park. The last one was at a mile and a 16th, so the horse can go longer than this 1 mile race. The one before that, 7.5, so the horse can go shorter at that race. Trained by my friend Ernesto Torres. Glad to see him back in the program. He's already had 2 wins out of 5 starts on the season. It says right here. So this could
both of them with this guy.
So this one, yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Both of them with this horse right here. This could be the third win for Seductive USA this year out here at the meet. I'll take the horse on top. Second choice is going to be number 3 in Englander. This is a horse that's had some pretty good finishes too. Likes to get out there and try to lead it from the get-go. Had some races at Oaklawn Park earlier this year. Did okay in those. Came over here to Lone Star Park on the 13th of May. Picked up a win in a 1 mile race on the turf. Guess what? We're back a mile on the turf right here. Most recent race is a mile and a 16th against Seductive USA, finishing 3 behind my top choice here. Looking for that to happen again. Seductive USA over Englander. And then my third choice is going to be number 2, Fred's Twirling Candy. This horse is no stranger out here to Lone Star at all. 9 starts, has a couple wins, some seconds in a third as well. Has run a ton of times on the turf track. Has won 8 times out of 35 starts. Has a good record at the distance, too, winning a third of the starts at this 1 mile distance. I think that Fred's Twirling Candy is one to watch here in the 8th. I've got an 8, 3, and 2 to close out the card.
Old Fred, you gotta pay attention to him anytime they lead him over, really, especially on the turf. He loves the turf. He loves the mile. He likes this course. He had a nice win last time. I went back and rewatched that race. I mean, it was the trip of a lifetime. I mean, he was able to sit just off a speed horse. Actually, he sat just off of Conviction Trade, who's drawn toward the outside in this race. Took over from him and held everybody safe. It was a really nice performance. I just don't know if he can repeat that, and I don't think he's going to get that same kind of trip. Horses rarely get perfect stalking trips 2 times in a row. I'm with Seductive USA as well until he loses. I mean, he's just been so strong. He looked so good last time out. And Torres has always done very well with this horse. He loves this turf course as well. And, he's one of these closers that really seems to relish this firm turf. So I got him. My second pick is going to be Metropole, who I thought, ran pretty well last time out in that race with Conviction Trade. Metropole, I like the way he rallied last time, earned a good buyer fig. It was his first off a little 2-month layoff. Now he comes right back for Jaime Castellanos after that. I'm going to give him the second nod over Fred's Twirling Candy. In Englander, I had a hard time. I thought about picking him on top. I thought about picking him second. Wound up with him fourth, but he's really game. He was really game 2 starts ago when he beat Brock on By, who just came back to run a nice race, even though Brock on By is a little allergic to winning. But Englander's race against Brock on By was excellent. And so was the last one against Seductive USA. So it's a good nightcap, though. There's, those turf races with big fields at the end, they can get interesting sometimes.
Nice for that super high 5. Hopefully it carries over from race 1. Unless you play it. I hope you win it if you play it, of course. But
we never do root against people betting, but if it does carry, it'll be an interesting finale, because all it really takes is one of those closers to get blocked or have a rough trip, or one of those speed horses to just freak out one day and just go wire to wire, and it can be a handsome paying situation. All right, well, Rodney's going to be here all week. I will be as well. 6:35, the first post. Once again, we're fast and firm. Thanks for looking in, and good luck tonight.
first home here at Lone Star Park at Grand Prix.
Sellers' third victory in tonight's NTRA All-Star.
Coming down to the finish, Singletary to catch, Antonius Pius